and welcome back to Photo Tips. And today I want to talk to you about high-key black and white images, specifically in landscape photography, because that's often what we talk about here on the channel. So a high-key image is basically where it's primarily white and you have little details of black in there, so it's very bright, very high-key. So let me show you an image up on the screen, and this is, well, a couple things. It's not high-key yet, and it's not black and white, but we're going to make it that way. So kind of join with me here, and we'll see what we can do to make that happen. So it's a decently exposed image. You know, I like the water that's come down. We've got the little white parts of the water. I did adjust here a little bit the exposure and some of the highlights just because the camera overexposed slightly, but this is pretty much how it, a decently exposed photograph should come out. So what I want to do, I did say black and white, so we're going to go ahead and make the image black and white. So I'll go ahead and hit my button right there. And we can fool around with a little bit. There's a little bit of blue in there. That's one thing we can do. We can make this a little bit brighter because I think there was some water right there on the rock. So we'll bring that up, make it a little bit brighter. Just want to see here as well the greens. I might bring the greens down because there's some greens up here. And we want those bright whites, but then of course we want that darker background. So let's kind of fool around here just a little bit. I suspected there was some yellow. And then, is there any orange in there? And not so much. I think we're going to leave the orange alone. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump in here. And now one thing we can do, we want to make this a very bright white here. We can go in here and, for example, go to highlights and say, oh, we can make this a little bit brighter. Let's reset that back to 0. Or we can use our white tab and really make it blown out. But that's not really what I want to do right now. I'm going to leave that alone pretty much. Actually, let me bring those highlights back down to kind of where I had them. And I'm going to get an adjustment brush out here. Let's go ahead and reset it because, as you know, every time you do this, it remembers your last settings there. So we'll go ahead and reset back to 0. And then I think as far as exposure, I'm going to go ahead and bring it up about a third of a stop there. And then let's go ahead and bring up our clarity as well to make it really pop. And I think I might bring my feather down again. That's that dotted line that's past here, this solid line. That's where the filter effect will fade off. So I'll just go ahead in here and just keep doing my little brush here. We want to follow where that water is. So we have a little bit there. I'm also going to paint a little bit over here. And let's see what else I can do. And obviously we want to go over here because this is some water over here. And we might go about like that. Okay, so now that we've got that done, let me go ahead and just kind of fool around with my brush there. I might make it actually a little bit brighter and maybe a little bit more clarity. One thing I'm going to show you, and this is Adobe Camera Raw, but you can also do it in Lightroom as well, is I can indicate here on my little toolbar up here if the whites are completely blown out, meaning there's no detail. So if I start blowing my highlights, you'll see how it starts turning red. And that means that it's pure white. There's no detail in there. So I can go up, quite a ways, as you can see there, and really make quite a bit of a difference as I do that. So I'm going to leave it about right there. Now, one thing I did mention in high key is it's obviously very white, but then you have the dark areas as well. So you'll notice as we go back to the image, there's a pretty big area back here in which there is not a lot of, there is quite a bit of detail. And we want to change that, I think, to make this more high key and more interesting. So let's go in here and I'm going to decrease the exposure on a new adjustment brush. And whoops, hit the wrong button. I meant to say let's decrease bring the highlights back to 0. Let's go ahead and bring clarity back to 0 as well. And we'll keep it about there. That's quite a bit of a decrease, but let's go in here and just start painting away. And I think what I might do is leave some of that in there because I think it adds some visual interest. It's because I'm allowed to cheat a little bit here, not completely make it dark. Okay, so I'm thinking, let's not go too far. So I like that. And I think I like that here as well. I'm trying to bring up the clarity. I want to, you see, as I bring up clarity, it starts making it a lot more noticeable. So let's kind of fool around with that. I increase clarity slightly. And I bring the exposure down just a little bit. And I think as well, I'm going to do another adjustment brush right over here. And let's see what we can come up with here. And I don't think I'm going to do it quite as much as the other one here. Yeah, maybe about right there or so. Okay, so I like that quite a bit. Well, I say that. Let's go ahead and I'm going to bring up the exposure just a little bit more. I think. There we go. Maybe about right there. Okay. And then it's starting to look pretty good, but right about here, I think there's a little bit more work we can do. So let's go ahead and grab a new adjustment brush. And you know what? I think I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave the exposure the same there, -3/4 of a stop, 0.75. But I'm going to go ahead and take that clarity away because I think there's probably quite a bit of clarity in this area already. So we're going to carefully take our brush and go right along in here, just kind of tap and smooth that area, the brush over that area. I'm going to turn those highlight monitors off. We don't need those. And if you hear something in the background, that's Nala kind of going about, so I apologize there. Let's see. What do we want to do? Let's keep trying to decrease that exposure maybe. And maybe give a little bit of contrast here. Okay. So I'm really liking where that's going here. I might do one more thing. Let's play around with that post-crop vignette. Notice I haven't cropped this at all. We're going to keep the crop, I think, as is. I like the way it was framed. And I think we're just going to go ahead in here and start darkening the corners a little bit to place a little bit more emphasis there, make it a little bit more moody, put more emphasis on the middle. And I think after I did that, I think I realized that I would like to make these whites just a little bit brighter. I think I may turn my highlight warning back on again here. Let's see. I like that. I notice it looks like I kind of clipped the rock right here when I did it. So I'm going to go in here and just get an eraser tool, and we will ever so slightly go in here and about, well, there we go, about right there or so. Okay, so I think I am pretty pleased with that result. We don't have any blown out highlights. Everything seems to be working pretty well. Let's bring it into Photoshop. I'll put a border around it like we framed it or something, and then we can kind of compare where we started and where we've come to. So let's see here. Let's go into our canvas size. We're in Adobe Photoshop. And you know, let's go ahead and add a 3-inch border around each side. And I'll go to full screen here. So as you can see, I think it actually worked out really, really nicely. Is it quite high key per the definition? Not quite, but you know, for me, it's going to be what I want. I don't want to just do an example for the sake of doing an example. I want to make a good photograph. That's what I want to do here. But I think it still does meet the definition of high key. You have those deep, dark backgrounds there, and this beautiful, nice white right here. And I think this is different than the one that's on the website. Honestly, I think I really like this a lot. So let's go in here and hit save. Actually, let's get rid of that border, and we'll go ahead and save this out. Let's see here as JPEG, and it's already in the right folder. We'll say after. Save that out. And let's go into our Adobe Bridge, and let's take a look at our before. Obviously, it was in color, and you know, not too much contrast. I mean, you had a little bit here with that, but you know, just a nice image, but not quite what we were looking for. We want something more impactful. So what we did is we went ahead and increased the brightness there on that white, darkened the background, dark this middle area a little bit, and kind of got this nice high key image. So anyway, I do really appreciate you watching today. On behalf of Nala and I think Nala's off someplace, but do appreciate you watching, and we'll see you again. Have a good day. Bye-bye.